Hey everyone, today we're diving into one of the most powerful lessons about life and loss, all from the chapter The Sermon at Benares. It's a really ancient story, but believe me, its message is just as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. I mean, seriously, have you ever thought about it? Losing someone you love is one of the toughest things we ever have to go through. And that exact question, why it hurts so much and how on earth we find peace, is right at the heart of the story we're getting into today. But before we can really understand the Buddha's teachings, we've got to understand his story. You see, before he was the Buddha, or the Enlightened One, he was just a prince, trying to figure out why there's so much sadness in the world. So check out his journey. Prince Siddhartha Gautama basically grew up in a bubble, totally protected from any kind of suffering. But then, when he was 25, his whole world was turned upside down. He went outside the palace and, for the very first time, he saw a sick person, an old person, and a funeral. These sights hit him so hard that he just walked away from his royal life. He spent the next 7 years searching for answers about human suffering, and it all led to that moment of enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. And that's where our story really kicks off. Okay, now let's meet the person at the center of this sermon. Her name is Kisa Gotami, and her story is, well, it's a powerful look at what grief does to us. Kisa Gotami goes through something just unimaginable. Her only son dies. And the pain was so huge, so completely overwhelming, that she just couldn't accept it. In her mind, she was convinced there had to be some kind of medicine out there that could bring him back. Can you just picture that for a second? This mother holding her child, going from door to door, begging for a cure that just doesn't exist. Her neighbors could see her pain, of course, but they also saw the truth that she couldn't. They thought her sorrow had literally made her lose her mind. So after everyone turns her away, a kind person suggests she go find the Buddha. But when she gets to him, he doesn't give her some magic potion or a long lecture. Instead, he gives her a very interesting task, one that's designed to let her find the truth all on her own. He tells her he can absolutely help, but first, she has to bring him a handful of mustard seeds. Sounds easy enough, right? But here's the catch, and it's a big one. The seeds have to come from a house where no one has ever died, a home that has never, ever been touched by loss. So Kisa Gotami, filled with this new hope, starts her search. She goes from house to house, asking for those mustard seeds, and people were kind. They were ready to give her the seeds. But every single time she would ask that one critical question, has anyone in your family ever died? And the answer was always the same. Every door she knocked on opened up to another story of grief, just like hers. Okay, so this leads us to the climax of her journey. This is the moment where her own personal lonely grief starts to transform into this deep, universal understanding. This is what she kept hearing in every single home. The living are few, but the dead are many. Now, they weren't trying to be cruel. They were sharing a basic truth about life. They were trying to gently show her that her pain, as real as it was, wasn't unique. It's a sorrow that every single family shares. She's completely exhausted and has lost all hope. So she just sits down by the roadside as night begins to fall, and she watches the city lights. She sees them flicker on, shine for a bit, and then one by one they go out. And in that quiet, simple moment, it all just clicks. You see, this whole scene is a brilliant metaphor. The Buddha didn't have to spell it out for her. She saw it and understood it herself. Each one of those little flickering lights was like a human life. It shines for a short time, and then it's gone. The darkness that followed wasn't something evil. It was just a natural, inevitable part of the cycle. And that was her big aha moment. She realized that in her grief, she had been so focused on her own pain that she thought she was the only one in the world suffering. She saw that her sorrow was real, yes, but it was also a shared human experience. She wasn't alone. In a way, she was connected to everyone through this universal truth of loss. So, using Kisa Gotami's journey as the starting point, the Buddha now delivers his sermon. He shifts from this very practical lesson to the deeper philosophical truth about life and suffering. Now that Kisa Gotami understands, she's ready to really hear the Buddha's message. And he's very direct, he doesn't sugarcoat it. He says that our lives are short, often difficult, and always include pain. Everyone, it doesn't matter if you're wise or foolish, rich or poor, is going to die. He uses these really simple analogies, like ripe fruit that has to fall from a tree, or a clay pot that is made to one day break, to show that our end is built into our beginning. So here's the most important point. The Buddha is not saying we shouldn't be sad. He's saying that clinging to our grief, refusing to accept what's happened, is what causes even more suffering. It just makes us sick, and it doesn't bring anyone back. The only way to find peace, he teaches, is through acceptance. And this brings us to the most famous metaphor in the whole sermon. The Buddha says that grief is like being shot with an arrow. The crying and complaining is like grabbing that arrow and twisting it, which just makes the wound so much worse. To find peace, you have to find the strength to pull the arrow out. That means accepting the reality of the loss so that you can finally begin to heal. So, let's just quickly recap the main points. We started with a prince who couldn't ignore the world's suffering and became the Buddha. He then taught a grieving mother, Kisa Gautami, not by lecturing her, but by letting her discover the truth for herself. Through her journey, she learned that death isn't a personal attack. It's just a universal part of life. And the biggest takeaway from all of this is that real peace doesn't come from avoiding sorrow. It comes from understanding and accepting truth. Thank you for watching. If you found this explanation helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Ace Archive.